Return to the Parliament. You can see now, small target in the campaign, sure, but big target. Reform agenda well underway with Labor. Key priorities in the Parliament this week, these new emission targets, abolishing the cashless debit card, you've heard me on both of those, and there's a push to scrap the ABCC, the Building and Construction Watchdog. But it's the last one that smacks most of hypocrisy, says former Queensland Senator Amanda Stoker, who wrote about this in the Australian Financial Review today, and she said the contrast between their talk on Anti-Corruption Commission and its actions in construction and super, this is the Labor Party, is stark and hypocritical. Amanda Stoker is 100% right, and she joins me now. Amanda, thank you. Brilliant article. So how can Labor justify talking about integrity and accountability at the same time as they're abolishing this watchdog to protect the construction industry from pretty rotten behaviour by the CFMEU? And we'll get to super in a moment, but how can they talk about integrity if this is what they're doing?
Well, look, it's the epitome of the politics of diversion to talk a lot about integrity and set up an institution that they say is new and shiny and going to be the panacea, while at the same time empowering those who flout the rule of law in the construction industry, taking away accountability for those who do the wrong thing. And here's the kicker, really. By taking away the rule of law in the construction industry, we make construction less productive, which means fewer jobs in the sector, which means less job security, which means lower wages growth. It is a slap in the face to working people in that industry.
And what about the move to reverse the former government's, your government's transparency measures for union super funds? Help my viewers understand what's actually being done here.
One of the Coalition's many really constructive reforms in the super sector was to say there's an overriding duty for people who run super funds to use members' money in the interests of members. Now, that might not sound like a controversial proposition, but there was a track record of super fund managers dipping their hand into member savings and using it on big advertising budgets, donations to political parties, of course, all of the Labor variety, and of providing for themselves campaigns in their own business interests rather than necessarily being in the interests of members. So the reforms that were put through by the Coalition were about putting transparency around that. If they're going to dip into members' money and spend it on things, well, they better justify it before the AGM and make sure that people who are investing their retirement savings can make an informed choice about what works for them. That's getting taken away by Labor, and they're saying that it's about empowering Australians' choice. Well, how can you make a choice when you don't have full information?
Right, come with me down to Victoria. We know we've got some woke councils down here, but until now, the Melbourne City Council had at least been trying to get the city back on its feet after COVID lockdowns, the worst in the world. But not overnight when they passed a motion led by the Lord Mayor Sally Capp to review January 26th as the date of Australia Day. She says it's divisive. She wants the federal government to bring about change here. This smacks to me, Amanda Stoker, as a council that's in trouble. They know Melbourne's really struggling and they're looking for immediate distraction.
People who go to grandstanding and symbolism and things that they say are about, making a stand rather than doing anything of substance are people who lack the depth to do the hard jobs.
Amanda Stoker, thank you for your time. Speak to you next week.